Hey, so welcome in. It's episode 2 of Starfleet Academy. I'll give you my thoughts, my little opinions on this episode. So, starting off, obviously, the first two episodes, they gave us what we needed with like our setup, bit of introduction to our characters, our cast, our crew, various different things, established the setting, gave us the time period, all these little things. But the question in the back of everyone's mind when they started watching the show, the first two episodes, while it didn't hit it square on the head, episode 3 unfortunately makes it very obvious that this show, Starfleet Academy, is definitely aimed at a more, I'd say, higher end high school era age range, where Prodigy, Star Trek Prodigy, by the way, was aimed more at, kids, early teens. This one seems to be aimed more at the high school, start of college age range, because it definitely has that high school, college freshman vibe. Not to say, however, that Star Trek can't be comedic, it can't be unserious sometimes. I mean, Lower Decks, for example, proves that you can do comedy in Star Trek, and there's many episodes throughout all of the show's lifespan that prove that you can be unserious as well. So setting all that aside, though, what do I think? Well, going into episode 3, it's hit and miss still for me, obviously, because like for high school vibe thing for me is not really a kind of a genre that I follow particularly, but I do understand where they're going with it. Much like the intro shows through its symbolism, it's character growth. These are kids who got plucked from every corner of the universe through bad circumstances, who are now plunged into an academy where they're going to have to grow together. And honestly, it's going to be interesting to see how they handle it and where they go. Now, clearly, some characters could use more growth than others, and there's still a lot of questions that need to be answered on some other characters. For example, the holographic girl. There's moments in this episode where it's like, okay, well, if she could always do this one thing and she's a hologram, then why is this thing happening, and so on and so forth. So I'm hoping that they address this as the time, goes, more episodes and whatnot, but honestly, I have no idea. Otherwise, this episode is very centered around the rivalry between the War College and Starfleet Academy. Which, on a quick note, the idea of a school being called the War College and it being attached to Starfleet is very interesting. The metal name in its own right, but it is very interesting. Now, obviously, it was established post-burn, so when, the post-apocalyptic cataclysmic event that shattered the Federation and divided the galaxy all over the place happened, Starfleet Academy was completely shuttered at that point in time. So they had the War College, because it was technically a wartime for the Federation, that was put into place to train cadets. A lot of the captains of this time period, captains and crew of ships now, went through the War College. Starfleet Academy is the first time Starfleet Academy is back. So, I guess they just decided to keep both in their place. Now, the differences to what they do, I don't know. I'm not sure if the War College is more focused on, say, like security, whereas Star Trek is, Starfleet Academy is more focused on exploration. I'm not entirely certain, but time will tell. But regardless, ramblings aside, rivalry in sports and pranks seem to be the big theme of this episode. So it's kind of, I don't know, this is one of those episodes where I've watched it once, I'm gonna forget about it later. I know it's part of the bigger picture, but I don't know, I consider this a very forgettable episode personally, which just sucks. It's episode 3. I kind of was hoping for more of momentum from the first 2 episodes. But that being said, the teachers are still a big highlight for me, especially Laura Thok and Jet Reno. And the fact that they're both in a relationship together is just, oh, mwah, I love it. Oh, Jet Reno was a character who was great in Discovery, by the way, but she shines in Starfleet Academy. I think this is a show that she really can bring out her best in. Because most of the time in Discovery, she was brought in mostly just to deliver those little zinger, one-liner joke moments. But in Starfleet Academy, she can just do that. She can just be who, the character that we love her for pretty regularly. And you got Laura Thok, obviously, being the hard-ass extremist kind of like officer, which I just love it. I love it. I really do. Otherwise, at the end of the day, I had to give it a 1 to 10 rating, like on a scale of 1 to 10, where I felt that this episode landed. I would, if I'm being completely honest, I'm gonna give it a 6 out of 10. It's basically mid. Like, I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it either. It felt in its own way kind of filler, though not to say that it didn't have some important character growth moments for some of the characters. And I'm starting to see what they're trying to do. For example, the rivalry between these two here, showing that obviously, despite their differences, both have their flaws, they both have their issues. And I know that they're both after the exact same thing, but they need to learn to work together. So there is a bit of teamwork, that's being built up. It's a lot of that classic tropes that you would expect to find in like a high school drama. But it works. Going back to that thing about this being more of a show geared more towards the younger audiences, I can honestly respect that in one other capacity. It's because I know that when we think of Starfleet Academy in the past, like during Deep Space Nine, Voyager, and like Next Generation, we think of cadets being like hard-ass go-getters and stuff, but I do kind of like the thought process that they are a bunch of rowdy kids that you have to grow into more molded, stern, professional officers. But Lower Decks also shows us that immaturity doesn't necessarily go away the minute you become an ensign on a starship either. So we've seen elements of that throughout time. I mean, Harry Kim on Voyager, and I mean, he was pretty rowdy in his own way. Dr. Bashir mistakenly calling Bajoran space frontier science, no sensitivity at all to things. Maturity is subjective. So having immature Starfleet characters doesn't really bother me. I know it might not be for everybody, and that's completely fine. But I'm still eager to see where they go from here. Now, beyond that, that's just my thoughts, my opinions on this episode. Let me know what you guys thought about this episode in the comments if you watched it. And if you haven't watched the show yet, I do encourage you to do so. Trust me, don't just take my opinion on what I think about it so far, what you see elsewhere online. Give it your own chance. But anyway, guys, that's my review for now. Stay kind, stay humble. May the force be with you. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.